All right. Welcome to Online 108. This is super weird. Anyways, this is the first video I've made on this thing for 108. And I want to go over the problem 3 on page 189. It's about if 4 points form a parallelogram. Now, I think intuitively what most people want to do is that they want to kind of see this graphically. So they want to, we'll do an XY axis, and then we can graph each one of these points. So point A is at 0, 4. Let's see, I'm looking at my X ones, make sure I get this big enough. Okay, so maybe like right there is point A. Then point B is at 7, so over about 7, down about -2. So there's point B. Point C is at about 2, -1, something like that is point C. And then point D is at about 5, 3. And so then the question is, does this, if you connect those points together, does it form a parallelogram? And from this picture, I'd say, I don't know, maybe? Like, my lines aren't quite parallel, but I just estimated those points. And so this is too difficult, and we need something more accurate to be able to tell whether this is a parallelogram or not. So what it's saying here, remember, 4 points in a plane form a parallelogram if the two diagonals of the quadrilateral formed by the 4 points bisect each other or share a midpoint. Okay, so what all that means is that, let's see, I don't have a separate color here, so I'm going to just go for blue here. The diagonals, so that would be the middle lines. So from A to B and from C to D. And those are the diagonals, and if they bisect each other with this point right there being the midpoint of both lines. And so what that means, I'm trying to find my little pointer on this. Is that a pointer? Nope. Sorry. Forgive me while I experiment here. Okay, that's okay. I'm just going to go back to drawing. I'll figure that out later. So really what that means is that this line and that line are the same distance, and that this distance right there from A to the midpoint and from that midpoint to B, those are the same distances. If that's true, then it's a parallelogram. All right, so what we're going to do here really is find the midpoint of the two lines. Now, in order to find which lines you're doing this, because you can't just do this willy-nilly, I cannot find the midpoint of AD, right, and then have that mean anything. So I have to choose points very specifically, and so I really had to draw this out to figure out which ones are the diagonals of this thing. So we are going to find the midpoint of AB, and then we're also going to find the midpoint of, let's see, what's the other one? CD. And if those two are exactly the same point, then we know this is a parallelogram. All right, so to find the midpoint of AB, the x value of that midpoint, you add the two x values together, so 0 plus 7, and then you divide that in half. And then for the y value, you add the two y values together, so 4 plus -2, and then you divide that in half. So the midpoint here would be 7 halves, and then 4 minus 2 is 2, 2 divided by 2 is 1. All right, then the midpoint of CD. So that would be the x values of C and D, so 2 plus 5 divided by 2, and -1, so I'm doing y values here, plus 3 divided by 2. 2 plus 5 is 7. That's divided by 2. Hey, they have the same x value. And then 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And so the two midpoints are exactly the same. And so that means yes, it forms a parallelogram. I am not going to take out the time to write out parallelogram. All right. Thank you very much. Hopefully my handwriting starts to get better on this thing.